The Fancounters Celebrity Podcast, number 151. Coming to you from nowhere near the entertainment capital of the world, this is the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast.
You were like the carrot top of interviewers.
Wow, how disappointing was that question?
You did not just ask me that.
It's a very big question.
Never mind, I'm done. I'm not doing the show.
Wow, I can't believe it. I'm telling you, I'm hooked.
Nick.
Yeah, he's so awesome. He's a good friend of mine.
Welcome to the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. My name's Nick. Thank you so much for being here. If this is your first time ever joining us, welcome. We're glad you're here. We've got a lot of episodes in our back catalog to keep you busy for a very long time. So we're glad that you've joined us. And if you're back again for another great episode, I will not let you down. In fact, I've got two great guests who are up-and-comers in the entertainment industry. One of them is a singer-songwriter. One of them has a brand new film coming out this month, and they are both going to join us on the show today. Tell you about that in just a second. Now, the election is over, so you have all the time in the world to go to Apple Podcasts and leave us a 5-star review. That's all I can ask from you. Let's make Nick smile this week. And you can do that by going to Apple Podcasts and writing up a nice review all about Nick and the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. I can't remember. Where am I? Did I? I don't know if I told you about Instagram. We're at Instagram at Fancounters Live. On Facebook, we have a group called Fancounters and also a private group called Sharpie Nation. Feel free to join both of those. Now let's get going with the show for this week. We are first going to welcome our singer and songwriter. 15-year-old Lana Chalfoun is here. She's going to tell us about a brand new single that she released called Be Okay. She's also got two other playful singles coming out soon called Get Mad and Cut Off. And she has done it all. It seems like these kids get more and more successful super fast. She's already recorded a music video in New York City, and she's got more music coming up this year. It's going to be a great year for Lana Chalfoun. We're going to hear all about her in just a minute. After Lana, stay tuned. Don't leave, because Richard Burgin is going to join me. And Richard Burgin is an up-and-coming filmmaker. He's got a film called Fang. He's releasing this month. He's going to tell us all about that. So let's get going. Our first interview of the two is Lana Chalfoun here on the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. Lana Chalfoun, welcome to Fancounters. Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Now, last year, you released your debut album called Aware, and critics compared you to sounding like Taylor Swift and Halsey. That's a pretty tall order, I would have to say.
Yeah.
When you hear statements like that, are you more confident in your music, or does that provide a little bit of extra pressure that causes you to overthink things?
I think it's a compliment. I whenever people compare me to larger artists, I always take that as a compliment. I think it actually makes me more confident in my music, I would say. And obviously, you wanna make sure that your music is as good, or you get worried about that type of thing. But I don't know. I think it's always a good thing.
I think so, too. Now, I saw footage of your album release show back in September of 2019. Now, no one could really imagine that you wouldn't have had that equal chance to perform live shows this year, but unfortunately, that's kind of where we're at. So has it been hard to launch your music career during this worldwide pandemic?
I mean, I love performing, so it's definitely been a bummer that I can't perform my new music for people live. But at the same time, during the pandemic, people are looking for stuff to do and listening to a lot of music. So I think in terms of the streaming and technical world, it's actually been kind of beneficial.
Have you been able to do any live shows, like a Facebook Live or even a Zoom thing for fans, or have you done anything like that?
I haven't yet, but it'd definitely be really fun to do.
Yeah, I've seen a few of these. In fact, I talked about on a podcast last week. Avril Lavigne did a live show, her only live 2020 show via a live stream, which was kind of cool. So
yeah, it is cool.
People are coming up with new ways to reach their fans. Now, you have a trio of singles coming out before the end of this year. The one that feels the most right for 2020 is a song called Be Okay, something we're all having a struggle doing. It's a song about the hardships of proving yourself. So tell us about writing that song, and maybe is there any story that you want to share that's behind it?
Yeah, so I wrote that song kind of based off of the anxiety and stress that I put on myself, kind of like the expectations that I have for myself and like overthinking them. And especially as a young artist, it's definitely very scary going into the music industry because it's kind of, a lot of it's luck and you don't ever really know what's going to happen, but you so badly want to make it. And so I think dealing with that feeling was definitely very difficult. And so writing that song, I kind of just sat down at my piano and started like crying. And it kind of acted as like a therapy to me almost to write that song. And I still listen to it when I'm feeling stressed out.
It's amazing how music can be a therapy to the person creating it, but it's also that for the people hearing it. So it goes both ways.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, I'm kind of wondering, I'm a little bit older, so I'm wondering, are CDs still a thing anymore for new artists, or are you 100% digital?
With BOK, I'm 100% digital. But when I first released my first EP when I was like 11, we handed out CDs at my release party. Okay. And it was kind of fun for people to like take home and have. But, yep, all digital now. Yeah,
and you're not planning any more CDs, I wouldn't imagine, unless it was for some sort of souvenir giveaway, right?
Yeah.
Now, when I was doing research, I came across what I think was your first band. It was called Meltdown Cinema. In fact, there was only you and 4 boys. You were the only girl.
Yeah,
what did being in that group teach you about music, performing, and also collaborating?
I think it was a really great experience because we did a lot of gigs. And so it definitely helped me like get over my stage fright and just learn more about live performance. And also, like, working with other musicians from a young age was really nice because I learned, like, how to get along with them and how to, like, apply my opinion and stuff like that. And, it was really fun. I loved it.
How hard was it, being the only girl, to get your opinion? You know, did you feel like you were vocal enough to give your opinion on things and interject yourself into, being a leader in that band?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was the singer, and so in terms of song choice, I kind of had a 50% say, but that's actually kind of the reason why I ended up leaving. They wanted to go into a direction of more like rock music, and I was kind of falling into the pop genre, and so we started colliding a lot, and so I loved being in the band, but it was probably better for us to, take our own paths.
Yeah, speaking of the different genres of music that you wanted to pursue, there's a song that you've got out right now called Can't Stop Thinking About You. And when I heard the song, it really felt like kind of a Colby Calais feel. So I'm kind of wondering, when you're arranging a song, do you have a particular artist in style in mind that might influence that process?
Well, a lot of my songs are kind of all over the place in terms of genre. I think as I've gotten older, I've tried to narrow in more on like my preferred writing style. But especially when I was younger, and especially while I was writing Aware, I kind of just wrote whatever I was in the mood for. So obviously, Can't Stop Thinking About You, I was definitely very happy writing that song in a good mood, crushing on someone, And so it differs a lot from like a song on the album called like Broke Me, where that's more about like heartbreak. And so I think it just depends on like my mood and situation.
Now, you've written a lot of songs about growing up and being in relationships, but you've also written a song called Bring Them Home, which was a song that won a nationwide U.S. Conference of Catholic Bishops campaign contest, and it addressed the plight of migrants and refugees. What made you, that's not a common theme for teenagers to write about. So what inspired you to write about that?
So my dad was actually a refugee from Lebanon. He had to escape war. They were in like bomb shelters, and the war was just really, really bad there when he was younger. And he ended up moving to like 3 different countries, learning 3 different languages, and then ended up becoming really successful here in America. And that, I think, was just such an inspirational story. And hearing that, I think that it needed to kind of be noticed. And I just thought honoring his story and the stories of so many other immigrants and refugees was kind of important to do.
And for the song to bring that kind of attention, when you heard the success and how it was going to be used, what feelings did you have as far as, was that kind of a, wow, I really made it sort of situation?
Yeah, I think that it was just an amazing experience to get to share that. I went out to Florida when I won the prize and got to sing it for like 2,000 people.
Wow.
And I've never had like that big of an audience before in terms of like live performance. And I thought that it was just really special that the song that I got to perform was about, such an important topic.
Now, you're from Michigan, right?
Yes.
And are you still living in Michigan?
Yeah, so I'm still here in Michigan, but it does get very cold here, so I'd love to move out eventually, but...
Okay, the reason I'm asking is because going back to the song Be Okay, you filmed a music video in New York City, which is awesome because being able to travel and, do something for your career like that with it, the video was so professional and so great. Tell me about the experience of going to New York City to do something so big for your career.
Yeah, thank you. It was insane. I was actually born in New York, so it was kind of cool to get to go back to do something for my music. But it was in the midst of Corona, so we didn't take a plane. We drove up there, and it was just so cool to be in New York and to be shooting in such a beautiful studio and everything. And I've never filmed a music video before, so it was a really cool experience.
What did you learn by doing that? I mean, obviously, you're already an artist singing, but acting is totally different. And you were able to appear in that video as well. So what did you learn about the other side of being in front of the camera and being noticed that way?
I think I learned kind of how to bring emotion in front of a camera, because it's definitely very odd to have a camera 2 feet away from your face while you're trying to, bring emotion into this song and everything. There's even one point in the song where I had to scream for it, and I just couldn't do it. I just kept laughing. So I guess I kind of learned how it definitely helped my acting skills, especially because I kind of had to just get used to being in front of that camera and portray the emotion as well as I could.
And Lana, what about the creative process of the video? Did you create it? Was it another person who heard the song who came up with the concept? Who was involved in bringing it to life?
So I wanted to do a music video, but my producer, Jeremy Ryan, he actually directed the music video and kind of came up with the concept for it. And I think it matches really well with the song. So
absolutely,
he did a great job.
2 other songs are on their way as well, and they are called Get Mad and Cut Off, both about relationships. And as teens, we've all had those nervous and anxious feelings around someone we've liked, even though you're young. Have you had relationships that left you feeling hurt and sad that contribute to these sad songs?
Yeah, I mean, I think that kind of at my age, relationships aren't as serious as they are when you're, more in your 20s or whatnot. But they still affect you. And I've been in a couple relationships that have definitely influenced the songs. They're obviously dramatified because there's only so much I can speak for being 15. But the relationships definitely impacted them.
There's another song that I think is arranged so beautifully, and it's by far my favorite song you've released so far, and it's called What Love Is. There's so many overlapping vocals on that song. Did that make it more difficult to record, or is that just magic behind the scenes?
That song that song took a long time to record, actually. Every single one of the overlapping vocals was a take. So it's not just a machine or anything. It's actually my voice. And we took so many tracks, and it was fun, though. It ended up sounding really, really cool.
I know that a lot of people listening, especially young people who want to get into the music business, might think, man, this, and like you just alluded to, they seem like, oh, the song comes out and man, they must have done that so fast. But you mentioned that how long the song takes. What is the typical time frame to bring a song to life when you go into the recording studio? How many hours, days does that take?
Well, when you're in the recording studio, depending on the song, it usually can take from 2 to 5 hours, depending on what type of song it is. But in terms of the editing process, because of Corona, I recorded Be Okay back in spring and just released it now. Because, it obviously was postponed because of Corona, but there's a lot of work that goes into a song besides just the song. I mean, you have to plan promoting, et cetera, et cetera. So, yeah, it can take a while.
And are all the arrangements live instruments, or are those, I know that sometimes people, producers or whatever, can fake the instruments and all that. I don't know. I'm not a music guy, but I've heard of it being done. Are these live instruments that are on your songs, or are they generated by a computer?
I'm pretty sure that we hired musicians. I know that some instruments are from like a computer or a machine or whatever.
Yep.
But I'm pretty sure that they're all live instruments.
Cool. Now, trying to launch a career as a teenager is not only tough, it's next to impossible if you don't have the support of your parents. If they don't have a buy-in to thinking that you have a possible career or talent in this, if they don't support you, it's not going to get off the ground. So talk a little bit about how your parents have helped you accomplish your dream of becoming a successful singer and songwriter. I
think that my parents are probably one of the biggest reasons why I'm even immersed in the industry at all. My mom and dad have always both believed in me from a really young age, and I think having their support has helped my confidence, because it's definitely very scary having to put yourself out there and release all this music and everything. So yeah, they've just been super supportive.
One of the things we want to know on Fancounters is what happens when you go out into the public, whether it be school or if you're at a performance and maybe you meet somebody who has enjoyed your music or has nice things or even weird things to say. Have you met a fan or even someone at school that has impacted you as far as the things that they've said about your music that you'll never forget?
I mean, most of it's through social media. All of my friends obviously say really nice things and are very supportive, but it's really cool when I go into my DMs and there's 10 random people that have messaged me saying, "Oh my God, I just listened to your song. It's one of my new favorites," or "This song, I really love this lyric. It really applied to my life in this way," or whatnot. And that's as an artist, that's the greatest thing you can hear.
Yeah, for sure. And I know that you can't make a lot of plans right now due to the coronavirus, but do you have plans in place for next year and how you're going to broaden your music career and get it out there in front of a larger audience?
Yeah, I mean, next year I'd love to start doing more live performances, especially with all of this new music coming out. But we're kind of just seeing where everything goes and just taking it step by step and hopefully, bringing some new opportunities to the table.
And one big thing that's very important in a career of an artist, especially one that's trying to really launch in a big way, is social media. So tell us where we can find you on social media.
Well, my Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook are all just Lana Chalfoun. No capitals, no spaces, just Lana Chalfoun. And obviously you can find me on Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, all streaming platforms if you want to go check out my music.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Lana, for joining us on Fancounters. We enjoyed learning more about your music and your career, and certainly we have places to go check out after the show.
Yeah, thank you.
My thanks to Lana Chalfoun for joining me on the show this week. She is Review Magazine's one of their 5 bands to watch in 2020. Her music is awesome. You can find it on Apple, iTunes, I guess it's still called iTunes, and Spotify. She's all over the internet. Just check her out at Lana Chalfoun. Now, we're going to turn to the film screen because this month we've got a release of a brand new movie. It's called Fang. I kind of equated it to a little Teen Wolf kind of thing where a person is turning into a rat. Obviously, in Teen Wolf, he was turning into a werewolf. I think there's a lot of similarities to the movie. In fact, I bring it up, so let's see what he has to say. This is writer and director of the movie Fang. His name is Richard Burgin. He's a name that's soon to be a household name, and he is on the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. This is Richard Burgin. Richard Burgin, welcome to the Fancounters Celebrity Podcast. How are you today?
I'm doing very well, Nick. Thanks for having me on your show.
You bet. Now, the moments before a film's release has got to be one of the most exciting and scary times in a filmmaker's life. And you're about to release your first feature film, Fang. And it's really your film because not only did you direct it, you also wrote it, right?
I did, yes. It was entirely generated and conceived of by me. I basically pushed my baby out into the world, so to speak.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about Fang and how you came up with the story.
Well, Fang is a psychological horror film. It's about a young man named Billy Cochran. He lives with his mother in kind of this gritty neighborhood in Chicago. And Billy has undiagnosed autism, so, he's very isolated. He's very disconnected from the people around him, kind of like an alien on Earth. And then one night, Billy wakes up, he has to go to the bathroom, and then he finds this rat in the bathtub, and the rat jumps out, chases him around, and bites him. And so from that point forward, Billy starts to feel like he's transforming into a giant rat, and that's the most I can say about the story without giving too much away.
Okay. The film could go down in history because you shot it in Chicago this past January, and you finished it right before everything locked down.
Oh, yeah, we were incredibly lucky with the timing of filming. Everybody was telling me, don't film in Chicago in the winter. You'll freeze your ass off. And, it was cold, so the predictions came true in a sense, but we were also just incredibly lucky with the timing. We wrapped filming like 1 month before, the shutdown happened. So I was very prescient to choose to go ahead with filming in January and February.
So it wasn't the weather that caused the most trouble during the filming. I heard that there was problems with a location. In fact, one of them had the heat went out, it followed by a TV fire. So for somebody who needs to keep...
You've heard the stories. Well, what happened was we were filming in this house. This was going to be one of our main locations because, like a lot of the story takes place at the main character Billy's house, and it's kind of a dilapidated house. It's fitting with the setting, and there were electrical problems in the house. And then first the power went out, and so then there was no heat, and so we kept trying to get it back on using a generator, and then the TV caught on fire. So shortly after that, we were like, you know what, we're not going to use this house anymore as a filming location. So then we found a new location pretty quickly. So that turned out not to be a huge problem, although on the day when all that happened, I was like, I don't really drink much for that day. I was thinking I need a drink.
So you were able to adjust really quickly as far as finding another location for that scene. Is that right?
Oh, yeah, my producer, Robert Felker, did a great job getting everything set up and responding very well to our various crises that happened during the filming.
And there must have been a lot of makeup involved as far as prepping the person who will become the rat. How did you determine what that costume would look like, and how many hours did it take for the actor to prep that role?
Well, it didn't take too many hours, although I wasn't in charge of the makeup, so I know that like many hours of work went into it behind the scenes. But on set, we had, and I actually got to dress up as the Rat King for one of the scenes in the movie. So that was a very interesting experience. And so from what I remember of that was, we had a combination of, putting gray makeup on my face so my skin would look like it's the color of the rat fur. And then over that, I had a mask that I put on so my head looked like a rat head.
Mm-hmm.
And then I had little claw gloves, and that was basically the costume.
Let's talk about the cast of the movie a little bit. It's made up of some actors who are a little bit mixed. Some are early in their career, and then you find somebody like Lynn Lowry, who's a veteran scream queen. Tell me a little bit about what your casting was like. How do you get somebody like Lynn to be in your movie? Talk a little bit about that.
It's funny because Lynn actually contacted me about being in the movie.
Oh, really? That's impressive.
Yeah, I know nobody believes that when I say it, but what happened was I I was on Facebook and I made a post somewhere just kind of mentioning offhand, oh yeah, I'm in the early stages of making a movie. I'm writing the screenplay. And then Lynn sent me a message saying, oh, hi, Richard. I saw that you're making a movie. I was wondering if you have a role for me. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I have a role for you now.
Absolutely. If you didn't, you'd create one.
Oh, yeah. Well, that did actually end up influencing my writing of the script, because originally Billy was going to have two parents, a mother and a father, and then I realized that, we didn't really need two parents. That didn't really have a reason for that in the script, so that I rewrote it so his father died when he was 6, and then the parent role was filled entirely by his mother, Gina, who was played by Lynn Lowry, and she is definitely the second most major character after Billy, and Gina's relationship is really the heart of the movie and what really drives the drama along with the rant transformation.
So Lynn contacted you. Tell me a little bit about how the other actors were cast. How did you get the word out that you were doing a film, or are these actors that you knew from other projects? How did you get them involved?
Well, I didn't really know anyone before last year anyway. The way that I cast my lead actor, Dylan LeRae, who played Billy, is that I put out an audition notice on Backstage.com saying, I'm looking for actors for this role, and then they sent in their video auditions, and I watched all the video auditions, and after doing this, now I understand why movies have casting directors as a separate job, because it's a lot of work to review everything. And then what really stood out to me about Dylan's audition video is that he really captured the nonverbal aspects of Billy's character, because when you look at most actors' auditions, they want to do the monologue, they want to show how they're acting, exclamation point. But Dylan had really good facial expressions and movements, and that's really what stood out to me. And so that's why I ended up casting him as Billy. And then the other lead role is the family's caregiver, Myra, who was played by Jess Paul. And Jess also contacted me after I friended her on Facebook, basically saying something like, why did you send me a friend request for you in the film industry, something along those lines. And I said, yeah, I'm in the film industry. I'm in the process of writing this screenplay for Fang. And so we got to talking, and then she said, oh, yeah, I'd be interested in being in your movie. So then I sent her the script when it was done, and she really liked the script. And so that's how I cast the 3 lead roles in Fang. And all the other supporting actors, they were all cast through Backstage.com auditions, I believe.
Now, Fang is coming out in November. Fang is a movie, again, about a boy who gets bit by a rat and starts turning into one. Do you have a release date for Fang?
No, we don't have an official release date yet. My current plan is to have an online premiere hopefully in November, and then after that, we're going to get a distribution deal so Fang can be distributed more widely to all the people who don't tune in to the online premiere and may end up hearing about the movie later. And my top goal would be to get it on Netflix or on Amazon Prime or in theaters, but if none of that works out, I'm sure somebody somewhere will find a home for Fang. And so I'm very optimistic about getting the movie out there, and I think it's really something that'll resonate with a lot of people. It's a very emotional, dramatic, psychologically inspired horror movie.
That sounds like a big package all wrapped into one. We've got thriller, horror, and drama. I'm actually really interested to see how all that will play together. Did you find it tough to combine genres like that?
No, yeah, well, I mean, when I'm writing it, I just try to tell the best possible story that I can. I'm not necessarily thinking of, to just follow all the rules that a horror movie should follow. It's very much about, I want to tell the story of these characters. And I like to say that Fang starts out as a slice of life kind of drama, and then it ends up turning into a slice of life movie by the end.
I think we can all relate to that. Our life is a slice of life until it actually becomes a big horror movie like this year has become. And speaking of this year, film festivals have kind of gone all digital, and they've really changed with no audiences going to film festivals. Do you have any plans next year to get this film in front of wider audiences by premiering it at any festivals, or do you think once you find distribution for it, that'll be that?
Well, it would be a lot of fun to have it screen at a film festival, and I'm definitely open to the idea, but at the same time, I don't want to wait that long, and I want to kind of get a distribution deal before the world opens back up. And even before the shutdown, traditionally, you have to submit to a film festival months before the event, and then you don't know whether it's going to get accepted or not. So unless your movie is very likely to get accepted, then it's kind of a crapshoot whether or not that'll work out. So for now, I'm definitely keeping an open mind to having it screened at some festivals in the future, but for now I'm going to do the online premiere and then get a distribution deal.
Now, Richard, you tackled this feature film after doing just 2 short films. So what did you learn while doing Fang? Or better yet, what do you wish you would have known before you started doing this feature?
What I learned, and I wish I'd known beforehand, is that this is, maybe a feature film is really a project on a whole other level of magnitude than making a short film. There's really nothing that can prepare you for the amount of work that goes into it until you're actually doing it. And, Fang has actually gone by pretty quickly compared to a lot of movies. We wrote the script in 5 months, which is fast by my standards. And we filmed it in 23 days, 23 12-hour days with very few days off in between, which, again, is a relatively short period of filming, but when you're doing it all at once, it feels it's very intense. And, at the end of it, it's like you go through a transformative process. Like, by the end of it, your inhibitions have sunk, and you're just, you jump up and down for joy when it's all over. And I never thought of myself as a jumping up and down for joy kind of guy, but I was very, very animated by the end of that.
When you're writing a synopsis for the movie, and you got to come up with how you want to describe it, maybe even who the target audience is, sometimes you have one of those sentences that you have to fill out that says, this movie is like blank with a little bit of blank. What 2 films would you think that, if you had to compare this to a merge of 2 films, what would you say that they would be?
Well, that is a very good question. I think definitely I could compare Fang to a number of different movies. In terms of kind of classic movies, I would say there's definitely a lot of Psycho in there as far as the mother-son relationship, and there's some Taxi Driver in there as well, in terms of following this urban loner who's gradually going off the rails and becoming unhinged. And then in terms of the transformation, I would say it's a little like The Fly, having the kind of combining this domestic tragedy and drama and relationship story with this transformation into a creature that, many people would not want in their homes.
Yeah. Did you see the movie in the 80s, Teen Wolf, with Michael J. Fox?
I have not seen that one yet. I've heard of that.
Okay.
That is any werewolf movie. This is kind of like a were-rat movie.
Yeah, he's trying to hide his transformation, though. Does your main character also kind of go through that, where he knows it's happening and he's trying to hide it?
Well, I think in Fang with Billy, it's really Billy's just kind of trying to figure out what's going on. he doesn't really know why he's turning into a rat or what is happening. And he tries to explain it to Myra, the family caregiver, and, she doesn't really get it because, the way the transformation works in Fang is that Billy starts to see rat fur emerging from under his skin, so it's like the rat is inside him, and he has a human suit on over it, would be how I would describe it visually. So he doesn't really get what's happening until it's too late. That's kind of more the approach I took.
Well, I'm really excited to see the film, and I'm sure listeners are quite curious about how this transformation is going to take place. Where can we follow the release and, be involved in that online premiere?
Well, the best place to find out more about Fang is on the Fang Facebook page, which is titled Fang: the movie, and that is a great resource with a lot of pictures and different people writing about their experiences working on Fang and making Fang. And, if you look at some of the screenshots, I sometimes look at it and I'm like, whoa, I directed this. This is gorgeous.
That's awesome. Wow, what a great feeling.
That's a great place to go. Yeah, it is a wonderful feeling.
Your film career is now just starting. Once you get your first feature film down, and especially if you sell it and get it out there in front of a mass audience, people are going to naturally assume and expect more from you. So do you have another idea that you're working on now, or where will your career take you in the future? Where do you see yourself?
Well, I do have my next play, and I like to joke that I've been almost done writing it for several months now.
Oh, wow.
But now I am actually getting closer to the end of writing it. The title is Broken Angels. It's a thriller. The premise is that it tells the story of this guy he's a politician. He's campaigning to be elected senator of Florida. And, he's a very charismatic, very suave guy. He's very good at manipulating people to do what he wants, but then he has this double life where he is this violent, sociopathic predator, and the plot is basically the protagonists are trying to uncover all his crimes and, get him out of, get him, speak truth to power, get him taken down, but he's so good at covering things up and manipulating people that he keeps getting away with it. So that's the story there.
That sounds like another good one. Sounds a little bit harder to film something like that even than a rat transformation.
It does require a somewhat bigger budget and more locations. So that's why I didn't make that my first movie.
Well, let's make Fang a big release. I do wish you the best on that come November, and certainly we'll be following along, and definitely will give more details if you send them to me. We'll pass those along to the listeners as we get closer to your release date.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Nick, and I hope you and everyone else who watches Fang has a fantastic time watching it.
My thanks to Lana Chalfoun and Richard Burgin for joining me on the show this week to talk about their music for Lana, his film for Richard. Go check out their projects, and we hope you enjoyed the episode this week. But we've got one more thing to do before we go.
How about some free advertising? Here is this week's podcast plug.
Hey there, Will Arnett here. I'm not that smart.
That's right. It's time for me to talk about my new favorite podcast. This is Smartless with Jason Bateman, Will Arnett, and Sean Hayes, and their guest this week was Reese Witherspoon. Now, oftentimes, the hosts have trouble thinking of thought-provoking questions to ask, so they tend to come up with some nonsense like this.
If I'd ever ran into you, Will wanted me to ask, have you ever been without your spoon?
I did not.
I would, but I'd be in pieces.
Okay, listen.
Now, props to them, because you would have to be a celebrity to get away with asking that question to Reese Witherspoon. I mean, can you imagine if that was my opening question? I'm sure she would just have hung up on me. Now, at the start of this conversation, the guys are talking with Reese about a partnership she has with some car dealer to preload books, like audiobooks, for people to listen to while they're driving. And of course, Sean pipes up with the first thought that comes into his head.
I thought you were going to say, in every Buick, there's a stand to put a book that you read at stoplights.
Oh, God, Sean.
Even Will Arnett cannot believe how stupid some of his co-hosts' comments are. In fact, I think Will and Jason secretly can't stand Sean. And I say that because if they're not belittling his ridiculous comments, they're just plain cutting him off.
I want to know, like, a crazy audition story, like, because we've all shared ours, a crazy audition or crazy
What about
jobs.
one that you wish you would have gotten that somebody else got? They did a great job and you wish...
Oh, well, I really wanted Clueless.
But of course, they did get a great tidbit there, because can you imagine if Reese Witherspoon got the role in Clueless instead of Alicia Silverstone? I think that we would never even know who Alicia Silverstone is right now. Don't you think? The things we wonder when we get information like this. I do wonder about that, actually. Now, there's nothing like the guest asking the hosts a question that becomes the best asked question of the episode. And Reese does it right here.
Have you ever taken time on set to see how your fellow actor memorizes lines? I'm fascinated.
So in this next clip, Reese Witherspoon is talking about the importance of women in the entertainment industry. And not only does Jason Bateman sound so bored, he ends up becoming this like monotone robot. Check it out.
I want more women behind the camera. I want to see more stories written from a woman's perspective by a woman. I want to have women make more money. And it just gave me fuel, you know?
Yeah.
All right. Now, in case you missed it, here's the same clip with a little help from the cast of King of the Hill.
I want more women behind the camera. I want to see more stories written from a woman's perspective by a woman. I want to have women make more money. And it just gave me fuel, you know?
Yeah.
The one thing you can't have when you host a podcast with two other celebrities is your celebrity guest getting all the talk time. So, how do you regain control of the show? All you got to do is repeat the last words spoken by your guest and make it about you.
Because it opens it up.
It just opens it up. I remember being, when I was first dating Amy, my ex-wife.
Good job, Will. So Will Arnett goes on this whole tangent about how funny women are. In fact, he feels the need to grandstand and prove women are funnier than men.
There was that whole thing. It used to be like, there was always that argument, like, women aren't as funny. And I was like, not as funny. The funniest people I know are women.
Right.
Are women. I know.
Tina and Amy.
And Tina and Maya and Rachel Dratch. I'm like, are you for real? They're the funniest people, period. And the fact that there was even a debate was so absurd.
Yeah.
And there is Sean right at the end. Did you hear that? He's taken his moment to agree, and then he makes things about him. Now, Reese is about to tell a great story, I think. I'm not sure, because Will Arnett, again, makes the show about him. And then he turns it into a huge session of Feed the Ego.
But can I tell y'all, Saturday Night Live is the scariest thing I've ever done. So it's the scariest job I've ever done that I haven't been paid for.
That was Amy's first show.
It was Amy's first show.
Yeah.
I know. And I
was there. You were great.
You were there?
Of course.
Oh, I was so bad, Will. You're so
No,
generous.
you were great. You were
so
great.
Nervous.
You were
fantastic. Oh my God.
That was great.
You know how some people just nail SNL?
A lot of people don't.
It just wasn't me.
There was a lot of pressure. Like you said, there was a lot of pressure. Everybody was watching. It was incredibly well viewed. And, there was so much pressure in that moment. And you did great. Are you kidding? Come on.
Great.
Of course she did great. Reese Witherspoon is an actress that gets like $10 million per film. So, of course, she is amazing. There's no denying that. Our next clip is an incredible main dish of silly nonsense topped off with Will Arnett making it about him again.
I am going to become a farmer, and I'm only going to plant peaches and call it Reese's Peaches.
I'm on board.
I'll
invest.
I'm kind of on board with that.
Reese's Peaches.
Because you can't be sad on a peach farm.
No, you can't.
I probably could.
I love a peach salad in the summer. How good is a peach
I mean,
salad?
who doesn't like peaches?
Yeah, seriously. And if you haven't been annoyed enough today, we're going to finish with this clip.
Okay, bye.
No, wait a second. Where are you going?
No, not yet.
Why are you leaving so quickly?
What do you got?
wrong?
Something you got to do today?
That's going to do it for me this week on Fancounters. That podcast is called Smartless. This is Fancounters, and if you have a celebrity guest that you want me to feature on the show, notice how I feature them on the show. I don't make it about me. You can be on the show with that celebrity if you email me their name, and I get them on the show. Email hello@fancounters.com. Fancounters releases a new episode every Friday, so check us out next week when we have another celebrity guest, and I will catch up with you next Friday. Have a great week, everybody. Bye-bye.